Patience is often a virtue in World of Warships Legends, one that usually gets you rewarded with some nice games and good wins, hopefully, if you do it right. And this battle is one such case in point. We are, of course, playing the Tier 8 German battle cruiser Prinz Rupprecht, which is quickly becoming one of my favorite battleships to play in this game, just because it is so very different from any other battleship available, and it thrives on concealment and good positioning. And the choices that you make about positioning are going to be very, very important in this ship. And I want to walk you through the choices that I make in this game, because we're going to spend a good deal of it dealing with a Shima who tries to torpedo us. And I've heard many times before that the Shima is an uncounterable menace that exists only to terrorize battleships, and there's absolutely no way you can avoid a Shima if it wants to kill you. Is that true? Of course it's not true. It's all in the way that you play this ship. Note that we are very aggressively approaching the Charlie Cap, and we are being intermittently spotted. We were spotted by the sea, then by a plane, now by nothing. So we know the Shimakaze is somewhere around here. He's behind one of these islands somewhere around this Charlie Cap. We're spotted again. Maybe he's in the gap here with the Musashi, but we're not firing our guns at the Musashi, because if we do, and the Shimakaze does have line of sight on us, and maybe he's outside of our normal detectability range, then of course we'll stay spotted. So we're keeping the guns silent as we push very aggressively into the cap, doing the job that the destroyer behind us probably should be doing. We're hoping to take the cap and not be spotted by the Shima. We've got sonar for the next 30 seconds, which should warn us of any incoming torpedoes, and we are sort of in pursuit of the Yamato that we saw headed this way. We think maybe he's coming around the island on this right side here, and if he does, we can of course start pumping damage into him with our secondaries and ideally get the torpedoes on target. But the Shimakaze is spotting us again. We're 6 seconds away from capping. There's the Yamato. We quickly check the torpedo indicator, and we see he has turned around and is going in the opposite direction, so we are going to follow suit. We're going to put our guns on the starboard side of the ship, and we're going to try to sail across this gap here, turn our nose away from both the Yamato and the Musashi, and kite. Ideally, the Yamato will push into us, and if he does, he'll be at a distinct disadvantage. This is something that I've said before in previous videos covering both the Rupprecht and the Xarkun at Tier 7. Ideally, in these German battle cruisers, what you want is a situation where you're within secondary range of a battleship with superior guns and armor and the like, and that battleship is pushing into you as you kite away. When you get that, then your secondaries pump damage into them, and hopefully you can even make use of the 7.5 km torpedoes. Now, of course, when we come around that corner, we do take a big chunk from the Yamato. That was a mistake on our part, and we were punished for it. And the hit points we lost, well, we're going to lose a little bit more here soon enough, and that's going to put this game into hard mode. But the Yamato is doing exactly what we want him to do. He's making exactly the wrong move, the worst mistake. He's pushing bow in toward us. This is not what you want to do when you face a Prinz Rupprecht or any of these German battle cruisers. You do not want to push bow in and get closer as their secondaries rain down on you. We've got a fire going on the Yamato. We've got torpedoes in his path. And we launch them a little bit to the left so that if he wants to make a turn to try to get behind this island, well, he's going to have to go straight through the torpedoes. And, you know, he can't. The torpedoes hit him and take him out for our first kill of the game. I think we only really shot at the Yamato there, and we did 91,000 damage to him with a combination of the main guns, the torpedoes, and the secondaries. These German battle cruisers excel at stopping battleships from pushing. That's what they want. That's what they want to spend the whole game trying to do, is find a position where battleships are pushing into them. And we're about to have another such sequence here with the Massachusetts B pushing straight into the center of the map. He's just gotten to within our secondary range, so we're going to slow down a little bit, let him catch up to us. That Musashi back there is still taking pot shots at us, but we are somewhat angled, or we are mostly angled to his position, and he continues to get further away. The further away we get from him, the better. But here come some torpedoes from that Shima, and one runs out there, so we think we're safe, but we're not. That Shima must have launched those torps a little bit closer, because we take one right on the side, and that brings our hit points pool dangerously low indeed. We're going to kick on the speed now and try to get further away from this Massachusetts as the Musashi continues to shoot at us. We want all our secondaries working on this guy, though, because he's at very low health, and these secondaries, especially if we can get any kind of decent armor-piercing chunks with main guns, these secondaries will take out the Massachusetts. Looks like our teammate there helps us out a little bit, and then the secondaries are going to do their thing, and we're going to end up with what is lovingly known as the skill kill on the Massachusetts, because of course it does take a tremendous amount of skill to put your battleship in a position where your secondaries are able to do that. And I'm not even being completely ironic with that. It does take skill to get into a position and maintain that position while staying alive so that your secondaries can do some work. But the Charlie Cap right now, obviously, it's occupied by a Shima, and there is Musashi at full health to the north of it. So what are we not going to do? We are not going to push straight into that Charlie Cap like the Republique is. Note he takes a torpedo there from the Shima on the bow. We've changed our course to take us away from the path of the Shimakaze's torpedoes, and the Musashi is continuing to shoot at us, so we're going to turn in a little bit in an attempt to dodge this salvo. The attempt is completely 100% successful. The Musashi misses. That's something to keep in mind if you've got a battleship shooting at you at long range. These German battle cruisers are fast enough and they turn well enough to dodge a lot of battleship firepower, which you definitely want to do whenever possible, because your armor is not going to be reliable in ricocheting battleship AP, especially if it comes from the likes of Musashi. And there Musashi misses us again. Note we're pushing straight toward this island. We want to get it between ourselves and wherever the Shimakaze is, because ideally we'll be able to break line of sight, then we'll be able to turn away and head more toward the Bravo Cap. I don't know why this Republique is bothering to push into Charlie. Seems like the wrong move to me. And why does it seem like the wrong move to me? Well, take note of the minimap. By all indications, our teammate is going to take the Alpha Cap. He's just taken out the battleship over there, and he's only got a cruiser to deal with. And then we've got a destroyer in the Bravo Cap who looks like he's going to be able to take that uncontested. And that's sort of what we're banking on. If we push into this Charlie Cap, we're probably going to take torpedoes from the Shima. The Shima is going to spot us, and the Musashi is going to shoot us. So, sailing into this Bravo Cap, or rather this Charlie Cap, would simply be suicidal. It wouldn't be a good idea. I understand that the cap is held by the Reds, and probably that's what this Republique is thinking. He's thinking, well, we're at 376 points. We need to secure a cap here, but we don't necessarily need to secure a Charlie Cap. Not when we've got two teammates in the two other remaining caps who look like they're going to be able to take it. And note, the the Republique, sitting bow in toward that cap, now reversing. Torpedoes coming his way. It's a good thing that he had the island there and was able to reverse out of their path, because he's certainly not able to maneuver to avoid them like I am when I am kiting away from where the Shimakaze is. Musashi is giving us broadside at basically the max range of our guns, so we try to take a shot against him. The results are not exactly spectacular. Luckily, he doesn't get very good results against our teammate either, and we've got more incoming Shima torpedoes. Look at how far these torpedoes spread out, and how far away we spotted them, without even having sonar or really any skills on our commander that increase the torpedo visibility range. I know the Shimakaze torpedoes hit hard. They're basically like underwater nuclear missiles. But if you know where the Shimakaze is, as I do, and I know he's behind me because we're still spotted, he's probably somewhere south of this Charlie Cap right now. As long as you know where to expect the torpedoes, if you point away from that location on the map and kite away from the location of the destroyer, it becomes exponentially more difficult for that destroyer to torpedo you. Pushing into the Shimakaze would make it easier for him to torpedo us. If we kite away, then his torpedoes have to travel a further distance in order to hit us, and our speed going in the opposite direction means they're effectively slower than they would be if we were pushing straight in. If we were pushing straight in, then the torpedoes would be effectively faster than whatever their speed says on the stats page. But as long as we kite away, the Shimakaze torpedoes spread out a lot, as you saw there, and they're visible from 1.7 kilometers away. That's basically 2 kilometers away from us. So if we've got our stern pointed in their direction, it's really not hard to make minor course corrections and find the gaps in between these torpedoes. In fact, even though the IJN torpedoes are, as I said, like underwater nuclear missiles, they are amongst the easiest torpedoes to dodge in the entire game, so long as you know where they're coming from, and so long as you are positioned well. So the Shimakaze at point-blank range, 4 kilometers away from us, completely misses us with those torpedoes. Shimas are not uncounterable, just don't push into them. And we have no reason to push into the Shimakaze because he's the only one left, along with the Stalingrad. Now we have about 4,000 HP and counting because we're using one of our final heals, and our goal is to push closer into the Stalingrad. The Stalingrad's guns are, of course, fantastic, and they're perfectly capable of citadeling battleships. But one thing they can't do is overmatch the Prinz Rupprecht's bow plating. So it is going to be okay for us to push bow in to this Stalingrad, particularly since he has no teammates left alive who would actually be able to shoot us. Now the Stalingrad does take out the Republik, and our final remaining destroyer, who has absolutely no health left, is heading for the Charlie Cap in an attempt to flip it. As far as I know, the Shimakaze is still pursuing us, and that's fine, because our goal is to close the distance between ourselves and the Stalingrad as quickly as possible. We get hit by the Stalingrad radar. I think he's behind that island, and he's poised to come out any second. There he is. He's within our secondary range, and now you will witness the power of these German battle cruisers, even at low health, against a target like a Stalingrad, a very heavily armored cruiser indeed, one against whom our main guns will probably be ineffective. But we've got more than the main guns. We've got the secondaries, which are dealing damage to him with many of their hits, also starting fires, and we've got 8 torpedoes on either side of our ship that go at 7 kilometers, so 7.5 kilometers. So we launch some off one side. We're going to turn now and launch some off the other. We get a great hit into the Stalingrad superstructure with our main guns, and our torpedoes are well on their way. We're digging into our second to last heal here. Another good hit on the Stalingrad with our main guns, and the torpedoes are about to find their mark. The Stalingrad gets caught bow into us, which he thinks is good for his survivability, but is actually terrible, because it makes him a stationary target, and our torpedoes have no problem hitting the Stalingrad. This puts us ahead on points, 532 to 513, and there is still an open question about who is going to win this game. It has been a fairly competitive match. The Shimakaze's still alive. He's in the process of flipping Bravo. The Kleber is running straight at the Shimakaze, which is a little bit disturbing to me because the Shima is at full health, and in the span of one salvo, maybe 2 if the Kleber is lucky, the Shima will be able to demolish him. The Kleber begins shooting as the clock ticks below 30 seconds. I take a shot at the Shima. Still kiting away from him, we get a good hit there. Secondaries doing their work, but the Shima goes unspotted. 553 to 549, 20 seconds left. We're still gaining on points because we have a capture circle, but the enemy has 2. The Kleber is now in the Bravo cap contesting it, which I think is going to prevent the enemy team from going ahead on points. So GG to the Kleber for his last-minute decision and for staying alive at such low health. The Shima could have taken him out, but he didn't. The Kleber getting into that Bravo cap allows the points lead to stay, and we end up narrowly winning this game after having escaped from the terror of Shimakaze. We end up at the top of the leaderboard with 2,700 base XP done and 150-something thousand damage, almost 160. So pretty good game, I think, and one that shows off the efficacy of these German battlecruisers and the Prinz Rupprecht specifically. quite well indeed. Hope you enjoyed it. If so, give the video a thumbs up, consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.